Who here grew up playing on their phone, playing video games, or watching TV? Who here has kids or grandchildren and you allow them to spend time on these devices when they're young? What you may not know is that if these children are spending more than the recommended time on these devices, they could be developing negative habits that could last them a lifetime. This year, published by LA Times, they talked about a Korean boy who developed addictive habits to video games when he was in middle school. His grandmother said that he would often skip school and lock himself in his room playing these video games. She said that video games destroyed his whole life. He is now 21 and he is unemployed. I'm going to tell you the effects of screen time on young kids with their brain development, their mental health, and their physical health. According to the Academy of Pediatrics, they suggest that children under the age of 18 months should have no exposure to screens. Children 18 months to 2 years old should have limited to no exposure to screens. Kids who are 3 to 5 years old should only have up to 1 hour of screen time each day. And kids 6 years old or older should have limits on their screen time, and they should prioritize physical activity and sleep. According to this chart, in 2017, children ages 5 to 7 were spending almost up to 10 hours of screen time each day. This is not what the recommended time says for them to do, and they are developing bad habits. In this generation, parents have been worried about their children being surrounded by technology, but scientists have used this as an opportunity to study kids' brain development and how it has affected them. The National Institute of Health recently did a study on children who spend 7 hours or more on their screens. They ran MRI scans on their brains, and they found out that there was a thinning of the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is in charge of memory, language, and their consciousness. It was shown that they scored lower on language and thinking tests, and their IQ scores were lower. They also had trouble focusing in school and doing homework and tests. It was also shown that kids who spend 7 hours or more on screens had less sleep. They would stay up late watching TV or playing on phones when they need their sleep to develop their brains. New York Times stated that when children are at this young age, they're at the most critical time of development. They need face-to-face interactions rather than staring at a screen all day. Time magazine published this year that children who spend 7 hours or more on screens are twice as likely to be diagnosed with depression and anxiety. Along with depression and anxiety, they are less emotionally stable and they have trouble making friends, compared to kids who only spend up to 1 hour of time on screens. Rogers Behavioral Health stated that without these necessary interactions, they are developing a poor environment for their mental health. They are using technology as a way to avoid feeling depressed or anxiety, which could lead to lasting symptoms. EE Health stated this year that kids are more sensitive to screens than you might think. This sensory overload are leading them to be more aggressive and angry towards others. The Department of Health recommends that children should get up to 1 hour of physical activity each day to be healthy. In reality, less than 25% of kids are meeting this need. The National Institute of Health said that kids are displacing physical activity with staring at screens all day. They said that children eat most when they're watching TV or sitting on a couch. They're using screens as a trigger to eat more foods. This is very dangerous because they are less likely to get up and move when they're sitting down in front of the screen. This leads to obesity. They also said that when kids are in front of a screen sitting down, they eat less fruits and vegetables. They are replacing these healthy foods for fatty snacks and junk food. The Department of Health also said that children who stare at screens more are getting sleep deprived. Sleep is necessary for your physical health, and it can lead to obesity when you don't get the amount of sleep you need. Remember the story I talked about in the beginning of the boy from South Korea? Well, he now found a new addiction to gambling. He was caught in his gambling debts, and he was charged for fraud. He is now in jail awaiting trial. Today, kids are consumed with technology, and they are showing signs of depression, they're lacking physical activity, and they have trouble more academically. To prevent kids from spending time on screens and to not show these symptoms that I talked about, they need to go outside, we need to track their screen times, and we have to set a good example. Thank you.